Welcome to my channel.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.
I never thought I'd end up here, feeling torn between my heart, my friendship, and my career. If you had told me 2 years ago that the most important person in my life would never want me the same way I wanted her, I would have laughed and called you wrong. But now, I know exactly how it feels to love someone who cannot love you back. And the twist? She's my best friend, my business partner, my anchor in both work and life. I know how this story ends, but the way it unfolded is something I never saw coming. When I first met her, let's call her Anna, I felt an instant spark. She was confident but warm, clever but silly, and she made me laugh in a way nobody had in years. We met at a networking event, and while everyone else was busy exchanging business cards and elevator pitches, Anna and I ended up in the corner, debating whether pineapple belonged on pizza. "Of course it does," she said with a grin, taking a sip of her drink. I laughed and shook my head. "That's blasphemy. Sweet and savory? No thanks." "Then you've never had it the right way," she teased. "I'll prove you wrong someday." That night ended with us walking through the city, talking about everything. Startups, family, travel, fears, ambitions. By the time I got home, I couldn't stop thinking about her. A week later, I asked her out. To my surprise, she said yes. Our first date was simple coffee and a walk through the park. She wore this oversized sweater, hair pulled back loosely, and she smiled like she wasn't trying to impress anyone. That's what got me. She wasn't trying. She was just herself. I remember saying, "You know, I usually hate first dates. They feel like interviews." Anna laughed. "So far, this doesn't feel like an interview. More like hanging out." "Good," I said, "because I'd fail every interview if I had to stare at someone like you across the table." Her cheeks flushed slightly, and she looked away. That moment burned into me. Our second date was even better. Dinner at a small Italian place, then wandering aimlessly through the streets, finding random little shops. I was convinced something was building between us. I thought, this might be the start of something real. But by the third date, everything shifted. We were sitting on a bench, sharing ice cream. She looked thoughtful, almost tense. Finally, she said quietly, "I think we should just be friends." I blinked, trying to process. "Wait, what? Did I do something wrong?" "No," she said quickly. "It's not that. You're great. Seriously, you're amazing. But I don't feel it. Not in that way." I laughed nervously, thinking maybe she just needed more time. "We've only gone out a few times. Maybe it just takes..." She shook her head.
No,
"I don't think it will change."
I'm sorry.
I remember feeling crushed, but I respected it. So I said, "Okay, friends then." And I meant it, at least I thought I did. Months later, she came back from visiting her family abroad. That night, she invited me over. She seemed nervous, pacing around her living room. Finally, she blurted out, "I need to tell you something. Something big." I sat down, concerned. "What's going on?" She looked at me, tears forming in her eyes. "I'm gay." The words hit me, but not in the way I expected. She continued, "You're the first person I've ever told. I thought maybe I could like men. I even tried with you, because you're everything I should want. You're kind, funny, smart. You check every box." But I felt nothing. And it broke me, because I didn't understand why. I sat there stunned. My heart ached. But at the same time, I felt honored. She trusted me enough to share this. She started crying, and I hugged her. "It's okay," I whispered. "Thank you for telling me. I'm glad you trusted me." That night, we stayed up until sunrise, talking about everything. Her fears, her confusion, her relief. It was the most intimate night of my life, and yet not romantic at all. From that point, our friendship deepened. We became inseparable, working together on a startup idea, spending countless hours side by side. She'd cook while I cleaned. I'd drive while she DJ'd the music. We hiked, we traveled, we stayed up late brainstorming or just laughing about stupid memes. People often asked if we were dating, and we'd just laugh. She'd joke, He's the best fake boyfriend I could ever have. And I'd reply, yeah, except I don't get the perks. She'd punch my arm, laughing, and I'd smile through the ache. Over time, I thought I'd moved past my feelings. I dated casually, but nothing stuck. She didn't date at all, at least not seriously. So we just existed in this bubble where she was the most important person in my life, and I told myself that was enough. But then, things changed. One night, she told me she had met someone, a woman. Her cheeks flushed, and her eyes sparkled in a way I hadn't seen before. I don't know, she said shyly. She asked me out. I think I want to try. My heart dropped, but I forced a smile. That's amazing. I'm happy for you. You are? She asked. I was nervous to tell you. Of course, I said. You deserve to be happy. She grinned, and I even helped her craft her first messages. Inside, though, I felt like I was unraveling. Since then, I haven't been able to sleep. I feel restless, anxious, hollow. I'm proud of her. I'm happy for her. But every time I imagine her with someone else, it crushes me. The worst part? I thought I was over her. I thought I'd buried those feelings. But seeing her truly interested in someone made me realize they were still there, lurking beneath the surface. And now it's affecting everything. We're preparing for major investor meetings. The startup is finally gaining traction. But I can't focus. I can't stop thinking about her, about what I lost, about what never even existed. I feel trapped between gratitude for her friendship and the weight of my emotions. And I don't know what to do next. I didn't expect the wave of emotions to hit me this hard. When Anna told me she had a date, I thought I would be fine. I thought I could handle it with maturity, with friendship, with the unconditional support she deserved. But reality was different. The night she went out with that woman, I sat at home staring at my phone, restless, waiting for a message that never came. Around midnight, I finally texted, "Hope you're having a great time. Don't drink too much wine." She didn't reply until 2 a.m. Haha, it was fun. I'll tell you tomorrow. Good night, smiley face. That smiley face cut deeper than I'd like to admit. I stared at the screen, wondering what she had been doing, who she had been smiling at, what jokes she had laughed at. The image of her sitting across from someone else, laughing the way she used to laugh with me, made my stomach twist. The next morning, I tried to act normal. She came over to work, bright and energized, like she was glowing. "Good morning," she said cheerfully, setting her laptop on the table. "Morning," I muttered, forcing a smile. She raised an eyebrow. "Someone didn't sleep well?" I chuckled lightly. "Yeah, I guess." I didn't tell her that I had barely slept at all, tossing and turning until sunrise. She launched into stories about the date. We went to this little tapas bar. Oh my God, the food was amazing. And she's so funny. She made me laugh until my stomach hurt. I nodded along, pretending to listen, but every word was like a needle. Finally, I said, "I'm glad you had fun." And I meant it on some level. But there was also bitterness I couldn't shake. As days turned into weeks, Anna kept seeing this woman. Sometimes casually, sometimes more seriously. And with every story, every update, every little inside joke she shared with me about her new girlfriend, I felt myself slipping further into a pit I couldn't climb out of. I found myself jealous not just of the romantic attention, but of the time. Time she used to spend with me, time that was now going elsewhere. One night, she canceled our work session. "Sorry, can't make it tonight." She invited me over for dinner. Rain check. I stared at the text, my chest tightening. I typed, deleted, retyped a dozen responses. Finally, I sent, "Of course, have fun." But when I put my phone down, I felt this wave of emptiness wash over me. The next day, I vented to a mutual friend, someone who didn't know the whole backstory. "I don't get it," I said. "I feel like I'm losing her." The friend raised an eyebrow. "You mean as a friend?" "Yeah, elite." But inside, I knew it was more complicated. Work became harder. Investor meetings were coming up, and I needed to be sharp, confident, persuasive. but half my energy was wasted battling the ache in my chest whenever Anna smiled at her phone, giggled at a text, or casually mentioned her girlfriend's name. One afternoon, during a prep session, she noticed my mood. "You've been so off lately," she said softly. I shrugged. "Just stressed, I guess." "Stressed about work?" she asked. "Yeah, work." I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. At night, though, the truth came out in silence. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, haunted by the thought that I was stuck in limbo. Not her lover, not her family, not her girlfriend, just her friend, her colleague, her fallback. And yet, she was everything to me. One evening, I cracked. We had finished a long workday, sitting on her couch with takeout containers scattered around us. She laughed at something on her phone, and I blurted out, "Do you ever think about us?" She blinked, caught off guard. "What do you mean? Like, do you ever wonder what it would have been like if things were different?" Her face softened. "Sometimes," she admitted, "but not in the way you think." I frowned. "Then in what way?" She sighed. "You're my safe place. You're the person I can trust with everything. But romantically, that part of me just isn't wired for men. Not even you." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "I know," I whispered. She reached out, touched my hand gently. "You're still the most important person in my life. Please don't doubt that." And in that moment, I believed her. But the ache didn't fade. The breaking point came a week later. We had an investor pitch scheduled, a huge opportunity, one that could make or break our startup. But the night before, Anna canceled our prep session again. "Sorry," she surprised me with tickets to a show. "Can we go over things tomorrow morning?" I felt my chest burn with frustration. I typed back, "Sure, have fun." But what I wanted to write was, "Do you even care about this company anymore? Or am I just your backup plan?" The next morning, I was tired, irritable, and distracted. Anna noticed right away. "Are you okay? You look like you haven't slept." "I'm fine, imaterd." During the meeting, I stumbled over parts of the pitch. She had to jump in and smooth things over. Afterward, she pulled me aside. "What's going on with you? You're never this off." I clenched my jaw. "Maybe I'm just not as good at pretending as you are." Her eyes widened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Forget it," I muttered, walking away. That night, she showed up at my apartment. She knocked until I let her in. "Talk to me," she demanded. I sighed. "There's nothing to talk about." "Yes, there is," she insisted. "You've been acting weird for weeks. Did I do something?" I looked at her, my chest tight. "You didn't do anything wrong. That's the problem." She sat down, her expression softening. "Is this about her? About me dating?" I stayed silent. She nodded slowly. "I thought so. I'm happy for you," I said quietly. "I really am, but it hurts, and I don't know how to stop it from hurting." Her eyes filled with tears. "I never wanted to hurt you. You mean so much to me." "I know," I whispered, "but knowing that doesn't make it easier." We sat in silence for a long time. Finally, she said, "Maybe you need some space." The words hit me like a punch. "Space," I repeated. "Just for a little while," she said gently. "To heal, to sort through your feelings. I don't want to lose you, but I don't want you to suffer because of me." That night, after she left, I stared at my empty apartment and wondered if she was right. Maybe space was what I needed. But how do you take space from the person who is also your business partner? How do you separate friendship from work, love from loyalty? I didn't have an answer. All I knew was that the closer she got to her girlfriend, the further I felt from myself. After Anna suggested taking some space, I spent days in a fog. I tried to imagine a life where we didn't see each other every other day, where I didn't text her memes or updates or random thoughts at midnight. But the truth was simple. She had become my person, and the thought of stepping back felt like tearing away a piece of myself. But I also knew she was right. I was drowning in feelings I couldn't control, and it was bleeding into everything. Our friendship, our work, even my own sense of identity. So I forced myself to create distance. I stopped hanging out at her apartment. I kept our meetings strictly business Zoom calls, shared documents, quick check-ins about investors. Whenever she texted me something personal, I kept my replies short. First, she didn't push, but after a week, she called. "Are you mad at me?" she asked. "No," I said quickly. "Then why does it feel like you're avoiding me?" I hesitated, then admitted, "Because I am. I need to." She was quiet for a long moment. "Okay, if that's what you need, I'll respect it." It hurt. God, it hurt so much. I missed her every single day. I missed her stupid jokes, her playlists, her voice filling the silence while we worked side by side. But slowly, painfully, I started to notice something else. The silence gave me space to think, to realize how much I had made her my entire world, and how unhealthy that was for both of us. One night, I sat down with my journal and wrote, "You can love someone without owning them. You can care deeply and still let go." I repeated it to myself like a mantra. I knew I couldn't erase my feelings, but I could stop letting them control me. 2 weeks later, Anna texted, "Big investor call next week. Want to prep together in person? I'll cook." I stared at the message, heart racing. Part of me wanted to say no to protect the fragile distance I had built, but another part of me missed her too much to resist. So I said yes. Walking into her apartment again felt strange, almost nostalgic. She greeted me with her usual warm smile, but there was something cautious in her eyes. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey," I replied. We cooked together like old times, and for a while it almost felt normal. But I knew we had to address the tension. Over dinner, I finally spoke. "I'm sorry for how I've been acting. I needed some time to get my head straight." She nodded slowly. "Did it help?" I hesitated. "A little." I realized I can't keep pretending I don't feel things, but I also can't keep letting those feelings ruin what we have. Her eyes softened. "I never wanted you to suffer because of me." "I know," I said, "and it's not your fault. It's just something I have to work through." She reached across the table, touched my hand. "You're important to me, more than anyone. But I need you to understand that I can't give you what you want." "I know," I whispered, "and I accept that. I really do. I just need to keep reminding myself." For the first time, I felt a sense of peace. Not perfect, not complete, but a beginning. The investor call went brilliantly. We were in sync again, bouncing off each other, finishing each other's sentences. Afterward, Anna hugged me tightly. "We make a great team," she said, beaming. And she was right. We did. But I also knew something had to change. I couldn't keep my entire life orbiting around her. So I made a decision. I would start dating again. Not to replace her, not to erase my feelings, but to remind myself that my world was bigger than just one person. When I told her, she smiled gently. "That's good," she said. "You deserve someone who can give you everything you want." I laughed softly. "We'll see. Dating apps are brutal." She grinned. "Don't worry. I'll help you with your profile." And just like that, the heaviness between us started to lift. Over the next months, things stabilized. I still felt pangs of jealousy sometimes when she mentioned her girlfriend, but it no longer consumed me. I had found ways to cope: therapy, journaling, building hobbies outside of our partnership. And slowly, I realized that while I might never stop loving her in some form, I didn't have to let it define me. One evening, months later, we sat together after a long day of work, sipping tea. She looked at me thoughtfully and said, "You know, I was scared for a while. I thought I was going to lose you." I smiled softly. "You won't. I might need space sometimes, but I'm not going anywhere." She exhaled in relief. "Good, because you're my best friend, and I can't imagine my life without you in it." Hearing those words hurt, but they also healed, because I finally understood. Being her best friend was enough. Maybe not what I once wanted, but enough. So here I am now, still her business partner, still her best friend, still carrying a complicated mix of love and acceptance, but stronger than before. And if you ask me whether I'd go back and change anything, the answer is no, because even though it hurt, even though it was messy, She gave me something rare. She gave me honesty. She gave me trust. She gave me a place in her life no one else had. And maybe that's the point. Love doesn't always look the way we want it to. Sometimes it's not romance, not marriage, not the story we dreamed of. Sometimes it's friendship, loyalty, partnership. And sometimes that has to be enough. So if you've ever loved someone you couldn't have, let me say this: it's okay to hurt. It's okay to need space. And it's okay to love them anyway, even if it's not the way you once imagined. Because at the end of the day, what matters is not what could have been. It's what is. And what I have with Anna, with our friendship, with our company, is something worth keeping.